Music producers and family in the background say hey. It's Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com, and I'm here today to show you 4 different ways to manipulate your drum loops for some banging ass beats. Let's talk about it. Music producers, drum loops are very important to your boy, especially when it comes to more traditional hip-hop type beats. It's like taking somebody else's rhythm, being able to cut it, manipulate it, change it, and add it to my own beats. It's even more fun when I'm manipulating drum loops that I've already completed, resampled, and then added some crazy effects to. So today, I want to go over a few effects that you can find in FL Studio, and then one in particular called Beatformer. So let's talk about the first way to manipulate your drum loop. First and foremost, let's play this beat just so you get an idea of what we're manipulating to begin with. So what I would do is I would take my drum loop that I have going on right here. Let's first solo this, and I'm going to show you 4 different ways I'm going to manipulate it. First, we got to turn it into an actual drum loop, because right now it's a collection of one-shots with my own rhythm, but we can resample this by using Edison on FL Studio. So first thing first, we solo this by right-clicking on this particular green button. And then what we're going to do is highlight this particular region. Once that's highlighted, we're going to go over here to the View Mixer, go to the Master, and then click on Edison. So once you open up Edison, it's pretty easy to use. All you got to do is go over here to the drop down menu and click on input. So basically it'll record whenever it starts to hear sound on that master channel. Next, you want to click record. And then as soon as we press play on here, it's going to start recording whenever an input comes in, which is going to be just our drum loops we solo. Let's listen to it. Now, I like to let the loop overlap just so I can know when the kick is supposed to come back in. But once we do that, we're going to wrap around this particular loop, zoom in, zoom out, find that last kick, go right before it since we know this is where the loop repeats itself. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure that this is the right loop. So we're looking at a clean loop. All we got to do is right click now, go to edit, and then go to trim. It'll get rid of that excess. Now press Control A for the whole loop. Let's exit out the mixer, go back here to the playlist. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drag this whole sample over right into the playlist like this. So it's already on beat. Don't have to worry about that. Once we have a drum loop that we can manipulate, it gets a little bit more fun. So check this out. What I like doing, especially in the playlist, is taking certain parts of it and just looping it around and messing around with it and seeing the stuff I can do with it, taking out certain instruments. That dry mute is everything. It just gives a person a different illusion, especially in sound design. However, that's not even what we're going to show you. The 4 things I want to show you that you can now do with this drum loop, if we double click this and we actually assign it to a channel, we're going to take this and we're going to assign it to, let's say we go to channel 7. So let's rename that now. We're going to call that the Curtis King Loop. So the first thing I want to show you, a lot of you guys make a lot of lo-fi sounds, and sometimes you want the drums to really have sort of an old vintage feeling like you sampled it from a record. Super easy to do, and you can do this with free plugins as well. So the first thing I do once it gets on the mixer is I will go open up this free VST called Isotope Vinyl. These are pretty self-explanatory as well. So let's play the loop. Got a little warp going on here. We can even add some mechanical sounds like a vinyl player. Add a little wear to the drums. A little electric noise. A little bit of dust. Change the amount of dust, amount of scratches. It's a little bit much. Change the year in which that sound is. Let's do 1960. We can even change it to mono if we wanted to. We're gonna change it and keep it stereo though. Now it just sounds like it's a filter on it. If you wanna kind of take it and accentuate that sound even more, something I do is I go to the playlist. Once it's already on that iZotope vinyl, click here on the stretch audio. And because it's a loop, I can go ahead and pretty much drag this to the next measurement. And now check this out. So that's the first and second way I like to manipulate my drum loops. First, I like to run it through the iZotope vinyl to kind of give it an old style feel. And then I like to stretch it on a playlist just so we can kind of mess around with it and make it sound like it's really grimy and that it's been mixed and sampled from an actual vinyl record. The next thing I might do to manipulate this furthermore is I will go here to slot 2 and then open up the Love filter that comes with FL Studio. And then I would run this through a low pass filter because that's going to give me even a crazier effect and something that sounds a lot more authentically vinyl. See how it opens up here and it kind of closes down here? Now imagine that. All of a sudden we got something that sounded a lot more interesting than just the original loop that we were using. So that's the third way I would manipulate it. Now the last way that I want to show you that I would manipulate my drum loops is using this program called Beatformer. Now the good people at Acunis are sponsoring today's video and they actually sent this over to me to kind of mess around. Basically, from what I gather and from using this basically adds some character to your drum loops. So for those of you that kind of struggle with your mix steel or you struggle with how do I make my drum loop sound creative, this is pretty much the one stop. So once you open it, you'll see it's a pretty simplistic layout. You can pretty much mess around with knobs if you don't know what certain things are, but there's a limiter here. You could change the output gain, the input gain. You could change the boom, which is very interesting if you have drum loops that have a bass frequency. It allows you to not only boost the bass within that drum loop, but you can also change the key so it's specific to whatever that boom bass is. Whatever key that is of your particular beat, you can now manipulate it using that as well. There's a punch feature that actually punch through your kicks and your snares so that it comes through even more prevalent within the mix. You can even tell that back and give the opposite effect of that punch. They have an air effect that really just opens up your loop. So sometimes you guys use these drum loops that are so old and have not been EQ'd that they kind of sound like they're just crowding all the good stuff that's inside that drum loop. Well, this air feature will allow you to open it up and give it more feeling. And then the squash effect basically just, I mean, as it says, it kind of squashes the envelopes of the sound. It just kind of shrinks it down. So as we go ahead and play this drum loop, you're going to see it has a few presets on here as well, but you're going to see what the effects do to it. Let's just go ahead and just play this. As you can see, you can manipulate it however you want to. Thank you to the good people at Acunis for sponsoring today's video and allowing me to go ahead and preview and mess around with Beatformer. It's definitely something I can see myself using, especially with some of these presets. I think what's interesting is that it really does fit within the mix, your drum loop. So I'm gonna give you an example. So without the actual Beatformer, it sounds a bit clouded. It even sounds like it's dragging the mix a little bit. But see how tightening up on the squash and actually pushing the punch gives it a different frequency, even opening up the air on it gives it an entirely different feel, and it actually fits within the mix even better. I mean, of course, there's other plugins that you can use to kind of get to this, like a 3 or 4 chain FX that you can make this happen, but why do that when you literally have a plugin that can do that for you? That's the way I look at it. It'd be great to experiment with it and see different ways I can manipulate it. Even though it's not a whole lot of knobs, still some great manipulation that can go down. Either way, those are my my 4 ways that I like to manipulate my drum loops. If you got some ways, I know you got some ways, go ahead and share it in the comments below. Share with the community. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Once again, this is Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com. Say peace.
Peace.
Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below, Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com.